Hey everybody, welcome to the Recovery Clinic. My name is Ashley and I'm a person in long-term recovery. I'm so excited because we have some big news today. First of all, I just want to briefly introduce, this is Jen and Ron Worbington. They are a power couple of peers from DeWitt, Arkansas. So we're going to talk to them today, but first I have a couple of things I want to throw at you today. We actually sent out, Mid-South sent out yesterday the announcement for our Peer Recovery Support Conference. It's going to be September 8th through the 10th, and we are going to be at the Wyndham Front Hotel here in Little Rock. In that email, guys, there is an application for anyone who lives further than 100 miles from Little Rock to get a scholarship to a hotel room for that entire 4 days. There's also another way you can get a scholarship hotel room, and that is if you get someone that you know who has 2 years in recovery with lived experience and also doesn't have a violent crime or a sex crime, any of those charges. They can definitely get on there, fill out an application to become a peer support specialist with NADAC, and we can possibly get you a scholarship hotel room. We have 28 counties in the state that still do not have peer recovery support specialists. We have a high demand for peers right now, and not enough of us to go around. So it's really super important that we get everybody involved as much as we can. In the comments, there's going to be the link for nadac.org. That's going to lead you to Kyle Brewer. If you want to become a peer recovery support specialist and you have those qualifications of 2 years in recovery, no sex charges and no violent crime charges, we definitely want you on our team. Now, back over here. Hey, Ron. Hey, Jen.
What's up?
Not much. I understand that you guys are peer recovery support specialists in Arkansas County.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So talk to me about how you got where you are. Let's just go back to the beginning. Tell me about each of you.
We can start with me. So I was born and raised in Greenville, Mississippi, which is it's a pretty rough place. Parents split up when I was young. Dad moved to Florida. Mom stayed around. Lived with her. I'm a mama's boy. Okay. Hey, but mom ain't no punk. Amen.
That's right.
So yeah, I grew up in Greenville, and I experienced lots of trauma. It's pretty common when you're dealing with addiction and recovery. Went through pretty much every kind of abuse you could think of. Right. Ended up going to 12 different schools. I was, class clown. I was always getting in trouble. Just like everybody else, one day I started using and I found a way to escape. Going back just for a second, you talk about the trauma. So I was 3 years old, and I know my mom's watching, so I'm sorry. But when I was 3 years old, my very first memory was her just getting beat horribly bad in the kitchen, and I remember sitting on the couch as a kid, 3 years old, and I could still see it today, and it was just horrible, and bless her heart, she didn't know. She tried. She wanted me to have a father figure. She did the best she could with what she had to work with, and so I ended up with 3 different stepdads growing up. The guy she's married to now, Paul, he's a godsend. He's great, but the ones before that were not so good, and they wanted to basically teach me the way the world sees a man. They wanted to teach me how to be a worldly man. So I went through all that, and it's the same old story. I pretty much just raised hell for the next 20-something years.
You made it 20-something years raising hell? Man, I couldn't make it hardly any time at all.
Yeah, well, I got in lots of trouble. Which ended up leading to a divorce. I have a daughter, and she has She has a daughter and a son, and they actually went on vacation with us. We just got back from our first ever family vacation, and we had a blast. Rode all the roller coasters like an idiot, and my neck hurts. And it was funny is I was sitting at the bottom of one of those roller coasters, and we're about to get in line, and I'm looking up at this thing, and I'm just like, wow. It's like I almost had that same feeling when I was back in my mess, knowing that I had to do something about it. You know what I mean? Like I was fixing to go on a roller coaster ride, like to the unknown,
right.
And then I look around, and my 11-year-old stepdaughter, she's ready to go, and she's ready to go get on the scariest roller coaster. Then I look up, and there's little kids this high, and I said, well, there's no way I'm backing out, right? So we rode all kinds of roller coasters, and we had a good time, and that's what recovery is about. It's the restoration with the kids and the family, and actually being able to go to wherever, Silver Dollar City, and ride roller coasters and not have to worry about getting sick, and you got to bring this and bring that to make it through the trip, and like, man, that's just
what if somebody finds it and I gotta hide it from this person? Yeah, I get it.
It doesn't get much better than waking up in the morning with your kids, knowing you're going to do something for them, that's going to be fun, and you don't have to put a chemical in your body to make it through, and you can have a blast.
You got plenty of natural chemicals going on that roller coaster, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, plenty.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this one that, Well, anyway, the first one we went on, I'll tell you the quick story. So within 30 seconds of going through the front gate, this one right here, we're following her. She's running. We don't know where she's going. Not running, but fast walking.
She's excited.
And so we end up in the middle of a line, and we didn't even realize what we were on.
I did.
She did. So we were on the Time Machine roller coaster, and
Time Traveler.
Time Traveler, okay. So we get up to it, and we get in, we get strapped in, and her stepson hates roller coasters. He didn't know what he was doing, but by the time we were halfway through, he didn't want to turn around. So me and him are in the seats, and the first drop, you go backwards, or at least we did. And he looked at me, and we made it down the first drop, and he's looking at me like this the whole time, and I'm looking at him with one eye closed, and he said, I almost passed out. I said, me too. And we made it, and nobody died, and we had a good time. But yeah, my drug addiction led up to a divorce, and then I ended up going through a ministry, John 3:16 Ministries in Charlotte, Arkansas.
Fantastic place.
Absolutely, and I went through there in 2011. And it was amazing. I've never experienced anything really like that. I got out, I fell flat on my face within, I think the first day, because I signed the divorce papers the first day I got out. So I went a few more years, living that hard life, and ended up back in John 3:16 a few years later. Got out this time, decided I was going to move, right? I took it literal, like when the Bible says, all things become new in 2 Corinthians. It says all things become new, so I took it as literal as I possibly could. Like, so I wanted to change everything, like where I lived, of course, people, places, things. The way I represented myself, the way I dressed, my speech, everything. I didn't want nothing to do with the old person or the old life, And I made it about 2 months this time, and I was living in Jonesboro. I moved from Greenville to Jonesboro to be a part of, it was Breaking Bonds Ministries. It was just a service they were having. And shortly after that, I actually, I got to help start up that ministry with Casey and Tiffany, and they were a big influence on our lives. And we wouldn't be here where we are today if it wasn't for them. And we love them.
Right.
And so we started with the inpatient, and then it just kind of went from there. And then, and then I met her, and we started doing this thing together.
This whole new thing.
Yeah.
Whole new thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can tell. Why don't you tell a little bit about your story, and then we'll finish ours together.
So I'm Jen. I was raised in drug addiction. My mom took off and left whenever I was little. My dad was a drug addict. We moved in with his mom, which was my Nana who raised me, which is my mom to me. And it was awful. It was awful. And I could do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted to. I didn't have any rules or anything. And 14, I was on probation with a 7 o'clock curfew. I was in and out of jail. I just ran the streets and just wanted to be wild and wanted to be like everybody else around me because that was just so normal, which most people understand.
Right.
And then at 16, I got kicked out of school and got sent to CYS. Got kicked out of CYS, was pregnant. It's City Youth Services. It's like a place you go whenever they don't know what to do with you whenever you're a minor.
Oh, okay. So that would be like DYS here. Okay,
Yes. Division
of Youth Services here.
So, ended up getting my GED, pregnant at 16. And, you know, my problem, of course, drugs and alcohol and all of that. I became an IV user very early on. Ended up going into complete congestive heart failure at 19 years old. I was trying to kill myself, and my heart was 3 times its size. I was in a coma on life support for a very long time through that. And God, He had a purpose for my life. And at that time, of course, I didn't see it. And I always believed in God, but I didn't want anything to do with Him.
Right.
I always felt like it was His fault, which is ridiculous now looking back of like my mind thought. But at that time, I felt like, how dare you do this? You know, like everything's your fault.
You lost your family. I mean,
Yeah. And so, you know, I went through all the hardships of that. And
so during this time, you had a child when you were 16.
Uh-huh.
And then you had another child?
Yes, I did. So I had, this is kind of hard. So whenever I went to heart failure, I had a child at that time too. I couldn't take care of him, so his dad took care of him. And then I also later on, 2 years later, had my son, or my daughter, and ended up having her. So I had 3. But it didn't last very long because of drug addiction, of course. You know, I couldn't take care of them. I couldn't take care of myself. More than the drugs, I was so focused on relationships, and I would always get with these awful people because I thought that they would love me so much that they would change, because I knew I needed to change some things too, but I wanted to get addicted to changing you. I wanted you to love me so much that I could change you. Of being wild, running the streets, whatever it may be, you know. And some women may understand what I'm talking about.
I think a lot of women
that
understand
was my addiction. Like I thrived for that, and I was always in very, very awful relationships, very abusive relationships, controlling relationships. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my identity, and so anyways, I went to treatment long term for 3 times, long term. And Project New Start, it's, you know, a very intensive structure. And then I didn't know how to get away from the people. You know, my family was in addiction. I had no Christ-centered, good family I felt like I could lean on. And I just felt stuck, like I was just going to be stuck there. And that's why recovery is so powerful now, because you don't have to be stuck. Mm-hmm. There's so many places that wants to love and welcome you and let you know how loved you are. Yep. It doesn't have to be blood family anymore, and recovery is so powerful now that you can just go to these places and these churches and these recovery groups and peer support, and it just blows my mind.
Zero excuses. Now. There's no excuse nowadays.
So I went to Butterfly Ranch Women's Center in 2016. I'm fixing to get this wrapped up, but so I went to Butterfly Ranch Women's Center in 2016. Got dropped off with 2 backpacks. Awful marriage I was leaving. Got an order protection filed. We had to get cameras put up. I had to get my name changed, kind of going like a witness protection. It was a big deal because this guy was so violent. And they took me in, didn't know me, loved on me, did all this stuff for me. Did
Changed
not
your
have
name
to.
Too.
Yeah, I had to get kind of put into a Aubrey Denver was my little alias.
Yeah.
And they took me to court to do all of the paperwork with the order of protections and the divorce and all that stuff. And they didn't know me. And they did it anyway. And so I went through the program. It was 10 months. Very faith-based. They teach you a lot of the Word and give you a lot of tools you can use through life. And so I became a staff member there and was over the office at that point. And then he was just starting up the Jonesboro inpatient in Jonesboro. And I'm in Swift, Arkansas, but we met through online, like CRs and recovery.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
Y'all are in online.
Yeah.
Facebook. And I did it. It's me. Like I was looking for a woman, you know, like a good godly woman that was on the same mission as me. And I ran across. She sent me the friend request first, even though she won't admit it. And she said that she loved me first, even though she won't admit that. But I don't know. I accepted the request, and I looked and I saw she worked at the Butterfly Ranch, and I said, oh, well, all right, there's my question. I said, oh, so you work at the Butterfly Ranch? And then it just kind of happened. I want to step back just for a second, though, because before all that, my last go-round, and it was in Jonesboro, and I got, you know, I was cooking meth, and I was living with another graduate of a program that we went in, and it seemed like a good idea at first, and it turned out really bad. So I was cooking meth, and I was very much suicidal, right? So I remember one night about 3 o'clock, me and him got into an argument, and I packed up all my stuff and put it in the truck, and I took a handful of Xanaxes, and I was on a suicide mission. And I made it about 2 blocks, and I seen the blue lights. So evidently I was in a parking lot just doing circles. So I pulled over, stopped, I guess. And I had the feeling of relief.
Yep.
You know, just like, okay, thank God, I'm going to prison. Like, who says that, right? Well, somebody that wants to die versus use again.
Right.
That's what that is, and that's what I try to tell people. I'm like, you know, people that don't understand addiction and recovery. I'm like, the only thing I know, I can't explain it to you. Like, only thing I could tell you is it will literally make you choose a sack of powder over your kids. You know what I mean? It will literally put you in a state to where you have a pile of dope on the table, and you would rather die than do anymore.
But you have to.
But you do it anyway.
Yep.
Like, it's complete, almost like you're possessed.
It is. I would completely agree.
Yeah. So the officer, his name was Dalton Shannon, and hopefully we'll get to tell our story in the future.
Yeah, I would totally be cool with that.
He's all about it. And, you know, he said, step out of the car, and he smelled pot or something and found a little bit in my pocket. So he put me in the car, and he says, is there anything else in there I need to know about? And I said, yeah. I said, there's all kinds of stuff. And I mean, I had aquarium hose tubing like coming over the back of the seat. I mean, it was just a mess. So, yeah, so then everybody else shows up, and they have all my stuff laid out, you know, on the tailgate, and they're like asking me what it is. And I'm like, well, you know, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But on the way to the jail, I'm pouring my heart out to this guy, and I don't know why. I just am, and I'm just telling him, like, look, man, I deserve to be in prison. You know, that's where I need to be. So it's not even that big a deal right now. I put me somewhere where I'm not going to hurt myself, hurt anybody else, or teach anybody else how to cook meth or whatever. You know, this is where I belong. I said I've tried. I told him I've been to John 3:16 twice. Been to another place. Well, I hadn't been to the other place yet, but. And I was like, I cannot stop doing this stuff, and I hate it. And he goes, I understand, you know. And I didn't give any of them any problems. I mean, it was what it was. And so right before he took me into the jail, you know, he's encouraging me, and he said, man, he looked back at me and he said, look, he says, don't ever give up. He says, one thing I can tell is that the Holy Spirit's in you, you know. He says, you don't want to give up. He said, what I'm going to do, he said, I'm going to go home tonight, and me and my wife are going to get on our knees, and we're going to pray for you by name. And that's what the cop told me. And, he told me, hit me like a ton of bricks, you know. So I spent about 30 days in the county jail and got released to another place in Missouri. And that's where the lights came on, so they say, you know. Mm-hmm. It stopped being about me. Every other time I went in somewhere, it was about me. Right? I got to do all these things to fix myself, you know, and I wasn't relying on God at all, even though I knew the scriptures and I knew the process and all that, but I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I wasn't doing it for Him, you know. And I come to a place at this other place, and I started walking. I made a promise to God. And there was a stop sign. It was about maybe a couple hundred yards down the road. And I said, this is where I'm going to pray. I'm going to get up at 5 every morning, and I'm going to walk to that stop sign, and I'm going to pray for me and my family, and then on the way back, I'm going to pray for every one of my brothers that are in this place with me.
Right.
And I started seeing prayers get answered like crazy. And like I say, the switch come on. Like it wasn't about me. And then I realized that, you know what, I started studying, and I realized that, hey, I'm kind of smart. Like I got a little bit of a brain left.
Right.
So I mean, I just went all in. I started teaching there. Even though I was just a resident, I started teaching classes and all this. And before I know it, you know, I'm back in Jonesboro helping with this other ministry, helping it get started up. And then she came, and we're working together, and it's just wild. But
so I want to stop for a second, and I just want to tell you guys that I really appreciate your transparency.
yeah,
Like, I know it's difficult to talk about those things that happened to you as a child.
sure.
Especially when there's other people that were involved that, you know, I get it. I get it. And I think a lot of times there's, you know, such a stigma on talking about those traumatic experiences. And, you know, those are the things that keep us locked down. Those are the things that you know, keep us in bondage.
Sure.
You touched base on suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
And there was someone who, in the comments of the chat from today, said, thank you so much for bringing that up. And see, the thing about it is, and you talked about, you know, your heart going into congestive heart failure and your heart being 3 times the size that it was. And, you know, that was something that, you know, I think a lot of people who use the drug that we'd used, I think that happens to a lot of people. And losing your children and, you know, going through all of those things that hurt so much. And then we continue to use because the bondage of that trauma is so great that we don't know how to get out of it.
And sometimes we don't want to get out of it because that's our excuse.
Yeah.
Some people like to hold on to that, and you know, I was one of those people that
me too.
I was the victim. I was the victim. You know, I'm the one who's stealing your money. I'm the one who's stealing your belongings and selling them. I'm the one who's, you know, seeing other men on the side from my marriage. I'm the one who's doing all of those things that are not okay in any capacity, but it's your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's all your fault.
Absolutely.
If you didn't look at me that certain way that one time 5 years ago, then none of this would have happened.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And, you know, whenever we decide that we want to lose that bondage and we want to work through those things, you know, that's when and we want to lose the victim idea.
Yes.
That's when the light bulb comes on. And you know, I think a lot of it for me, and this is what I heard you say in a lot of that, is service work.
Yeah.
So when you were walking back from, you know, the stop sign, you were praying for other people. So I'm a firm believer in God myself, you know, and there are, I can't even tell you how many times. I saw something the other day where it says how many times in the Bible it says to love others.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and it's, you know, and so I truly believe that we are here for nothing other than to love God and one another, and that's it.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely it.
Yeah.
And, you know, so when we decide to get out of ourselves and we decide to put God first, rely on Him, and help others the way He's helped us,
Yeah.
you know, that's just, that in itself is just the bondage breaking moment.
It covers all the issues. So
Every one of them.
when you love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and then you love others, you know, as you love yourself, you have literally covered the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what it's there.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, it became about, it became about other people, but still you got to have it in the back of your mind that you have to take care of yourself also. But you know, and I got this tattoo, and I won't show you, but it's pretty gnarly. But and it's Philippians 2:3, and everybody sees it, and they're like, "Oh, Philippians 2:13." I'm like, no. I'm like, everybody knows that verse, and everybody takes that verse out of context for one thing. But mine's Philippians 2:3. It says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in every way, you think of others more than yourself. So
Right.
that doesn't mean that we don't think of ourselves. It means that we think of we put others before ourselves.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
But you still have to take care of yourself.
Without falling back down and losing your recovery.
Right.
I mean, we have to be careful with that, but absolutely.
So if I lose my recovery in any capacity, I can't help anyone else.
No doubt.
No.
So
Right.
So I also work a 12-step program.
Yeah.
I'm involved in a recovery ministry, but I also work a 12-step program. And, in that 12-step program, they talk about service work. Like, service work is a big deal, and loosely...
Isn't that the last step?
It is.
Pretty much. Okay.
And loosely, those 12 steps are based off of different things. You can find a direct correlation to different things in the Bible.
Absolutely.
And what I think is so fantastic is that, our lived experience that we let hold us bonded for so long is exactly what we need to tell other people about.
Yeah.
So that they can see, hey, look at what Ron went through. Like, holy cow, if he can go through it, I can too. You were talking about Jonesboro. That was a place, of course, I can't remember a time where, a place where I didn't get high, okay,
Yeah.
really.
No doubt.
But I remember I was in a drug psychosis. That was, the thing that I did. I was in a drug psychosis, and I was wandering around the parking lot at the Jonesboro Hospital, and I got picked up, and I got taken to jail. And I had a warrant out of Conway. And I had a similar experience. I don't know the cop's name, okay? And I wish I did. Again, drug psychosis. But I remember when he picked me up, he was sitting in the front seat, and he said, Ashley, look at yourself. This is not what you're meant to do. And he showed me a picture of my driver's license, and he said, honest to God, the reason I decided to come pick you up was because this is the picture I saw of you.
Yeah.
And I thought you were cute, and I wanted to see you. I swear to you. That was what he said. And he said, you have to get some help. This is not what God wants for you. Mm-hmm. And I remember that in that drug psychosis and everything. That was someone who crossed my path for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
But it was long enough to plant a seed of,
Yes.
you don't have to live like this.
It's a straight up divine appointment. Like, that's what happened with me and Officer Shannon. Like, God knew exactly who to put me in the back of the car with. I mean, it was, when that man said he was going to pray for me, the first thing I think of, Jesus said, this is how they know that they will know you are my disciples, is how you love one another, And he didn't see me as a junkie. He didn't see me as anything like that. He saw me as another Christian man that lost his way, that was struggling,
Right. Right.
That's what he saw. And that sparked hope in me, and me and her. So kind of back. Can I go back to that?
Yes, absolutely. Please, I'm sorry.
So we met. We didn't meet. We talked on the phone for probably a month, and we would always pray for each other. And we would talk for hours, and then we would pray, and then we would talk about scripture and this and that and that and this, and that's how. I think that's how I won her over. Mm-hmm. Guys, chicks love that, so do that.
And that's what it was. Is we were messaging back and forth for quite some time, and then whenever we did get to start talking to each other on the phone, he said, "Hey, do you mind if I can pray with you tonight?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So he prayed for me and for us and everything going on in our different ministries. And every single night he would call me at 8:00 and say, "Hey, can we pray?" And he would pray. So I knew his heart was like, it was set right, and it was legit, and it was just so sincere. And I've never had a strong relationship and faith, and I never had that before, of us both wanting to chase after God and this is my favorite thing to say, rescue people.
That's right.
Right? And that's what we wanted to do together, but we wanted it to be centered around Christ. And it just blows my mind looking back at what God's done and how he just allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
And the things that he did, it was so evident, obvious.
Yeah,
that's what
crazy.
He wanted us to do.
We could talk for hours on just the different things that happened right there.
And so, I put my 2-week notice into the Butterfly and stepped out in faith and moved to Jonesboro to a women's transitional living home. Back to my hometown. You know, I've been away from there this time for like 6 years, and here I'm back in my home. And I was terrified because before I left, there was no recovery. You know, there wasn't many. And Ron was like, "You're going to be fine. Like, recovery's everywhere here now." And I was like, "Okay." And it was. Recovery was just
running rampant.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another thing is I do think that a lot of times people do need to move, right? You know, all things become new. Sometimes we need to move, but sometimes it's just like if you're from Little Rock, there's so much going on recovery-wise that you have no excuse. Like,
right.
And it's not like the grass is not always greener on the other side.
And so what do you mean?
Listen,
clearly I know what you mean by that, but go ahead and explain it.
Here's where the grass is greener. It's where you plant and where you water your seeds. Like, I could move to any city in the world with a Walmart and go to Walmart at 2 o'clock in the morning to the flashlight aisle and find some meth, you know? I mean, it's everywhere. So, I mean,
true.
It's true. Like, what's your priorities, and have you hit that spot where the switch is coming on? And once it does, man, a whole new world opens up. It's like with peer recovery. Like, we had no idea how big this was.
It's all about perspective.
Absolutely.
Jimmy says all the time it's about perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get to the peer recovery part because that's a big deal. What I do want to say real quickly is that, you know, I know for a lot of people out there that faith-based recovery may not be your pathway, and that's totally okay. That's totally okay. It is. You know, there's 12-step programs. There's all of those programs. At the end of the day, it's all about loving one another.
Yes.
Finding a way to get into recovery that works for you and loving one another. Yeah. And that's service work. And that's how we stay in recovery, and that's how we get others into recovery.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and that's, you know, that's great. That's exactly what peer recovery specialists do.
Yeah.
So how did you guys get to that point?
Well, I'm also going to love you enough to tell you about Jesus. Anyway, so I just want to throw that out there. But so how we got involved with peer recovery, I got a phone call from Mr. Kyle Brewer. He was looking for somebody to fill the position in Arkansas County. Me and him had probably a good 30-minute conversation the first time I've ever talked to him, and instantly I was connected to this dude, you know? Like, that's just him. Like,
that's Kyle all the way.
Yeah, and so he was going to send Miss Lynn, down to talk to us, and originally we were just trying to help them find somebody that would be good for the job in the area, and then we talked to her for probably an hour, and, you know, by the time she left, we were offered the job.
Right.
So, and we get to do it together, which is fantastic. We get to work with, like, our immediate position would be with the district court, drug court.
Right.
But we are not limited to, we work with circuit court. Now we're going to the jail once a week, or anytime anybody wants to talk to us, we go right out there and talk to them. Anybody else that needs help in the community, we have several peers that chose to go into our program, and then we have several that didn't, and that was a big deal for me and her. You know, like actually helping somebody get into a 30-day program. That's hard. But
it's not our judging and our call, and it's whatever that, you know, what, so it works for some people, and just because it didn't work for us does not mean that it didn't work for thousands of other people. You know,
because there's no doubt in my mind that somebody could do a 30-day program and then, you know, get involved with, you know, like our church or that church, y'all's church. Yeah, we watched some stuff on it, and man, that's fantastic.
AA, anything, CRs, there's so many
just
different
get
pathways.
involved. Just get around the right people.
That's right.
Yeah. So we started doing that, and, you know, and I believe that I'll help you, you know, whatever path you want to take, whatever is good for you, I will help 100%. But I am going to tell you about Jesus, and I am going to tell you about my path. But hey, and I'll pray for you that you get, wherever you go, you get to a place where your mind and your body and your spirit starts to heal. You know, if we could start with just healing the mind and the body, then we can let God do the rest. Right.
And sometimes, you know, So recovery is like an elevator. We don't all get off on the same floor, you know? Like we don't.
Sure.
And so, and that's okay. That's what it's about. The whole premise to recovery is, you know, stop getting felonies, stop trying to kill yourself,
Yeah.
and help other people, you know? And so it doesn't really matter what pathway you pick or how long it takes you to get from A to B. You know, the whole point is to become a responsible, productive member of society in whatever capacity that looks like to you.
And that's what happens when somebody is authentic and they go into recovery with that mind. It's like you instantly want to help other people.
That's right. That is absolutely right. And so in my 12-step program, we talk, in another one, we talk about attraction rather than promotion. And so for me and my life, I want other people to see God through me by attraction rather than, and trust me, I still talk about God. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's important for people to see God through me, for me to be a conduit of His divine spirit and light, rather than just talking about it.
You don't want to beat them with
will.
scripture and all that. You don't do that. That's not the way to go. But you know, like when I say I'm going to tell you about Jesus, it means I'm going to tell you about my story.
That's right.
And I'm going to tell you what He did for me and what He will do for you. And so yeah. But back to we met Kyle and Jimmy. They actually come to Arkansas Recovery Ministries, and they spoke a couple of times. It was great.
And that's kind of what we do now.
Yeah.
We wanted to talk about how we got to DeWitt.
How we got to DeWitt?
That we're in DeWitt now.
Yeah. So we have our Arkansas Recovery Ministries. It's ARM 180. We kind of, I would say we're the founders, but I mean, I guess it's really a whole team. We have this whole team that God has just orchestrated, and it is crazy.
Is that the picture that's on the ARM 180? And I believe it's the link for the Facebook page is in the comments if anybody's interested in looking. Yeah. But you guys have that picture, that cover picture that has all those people in the background there.
Yeah, that's the residents and their families.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
right.
So tell me
That's usually every Sunday. It's about 80 people out there.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what does your program look like that you guys offer there?
Well, our program is, we balance it. First of all, we do about 25 hours of class and about 20 hours of work during the week. And the work is what helps us pay the bills. You know, about what it takes to run is, you know, half the money that we make through the work, and then the other half is donations, people that just believe in what we're doing.
And so is this a men's ministry?
It is a men's ministry. It's 7 months to a year, depending on the resident and his progress. Okay. And a lot of that has to do with a good, solid exit plan. So if somebody doesn't have a solid exit plan by around month 6, then you know what? Let's just hold up.
Yeah.
Like you could stay 2 years till we figure this out.
Like I don't know about anybody else, but that last time I went to treatment, you couldn't make me leave. Like it was, I'm not going back out there.
Gotta stay forever.
Yes. Can I just live here?
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah, but we do that, and we're blessed with. We have a ministry team that is like, man, they're phenomenal. Very, very successful, godly men and women, and I'm not talking about financial. I'm talking about successful at life, and most of them have never. They didn't know anything about addiction until we moved down there, and then God just put us all together, and you know, we come up with the name. Everybody played a little part and come up with that name.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The 180 obviously represents turning around and
going the other way.
Running the other way, right? A new life. We teach everything from biblical foundations, communication, leadership classes. We've got 8 different teachers these are some of the best teachers. I don't know what's going on like in Arkansas County, but them people down there study. And and whenever we moved, like that's the first thing I told her. I went to a Bible study and I come back and I said, babe, these people are in it down here. And they're in it for the right reasons. Because like our church, it's just like y'all's church. I was doing research on it. Like they see somebody that's broken and their heart's broken, and what they see is they don't see addiction. They see somebody struggling with sin, you know. I mean, it's the same as the person over there that can't stop gospeling, that's stirring up all this drama in the community. So now our church, we have a Celebrate Recovery in there, and then we've got us, and the people they just love on these guys like you've never seen it. And I mean, you talk about the breaking of the stigma, it's there.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, okay, we need to jump forward.
Okay.
So tell me about peer support, and then I want you to, like, how did you guys get it? You called Kyle.
No, he called me.
He called you, I'm sorry. And so Lynn Hawkins said, hey, come talk to me.
Yeah.
And you guys went to see her.
She came to see us. But, yeah.
See, Lynn is just so...
She's cool. I like her.
She's so wonderful. And Lynn, you know, she wants to put one of us in everywhere she can possibly imagine as fast as possible.
Yeah.
She believes in what we do.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's, man, it's so great to have people like that on our
And
side.
William Bridewell also, you know, he's doing a great job leading this thing. So,
It's
and
so
Kyle,
good.
and as far as Kyle, like I can't say enough good about him. That he's sharp as a tack, and let me tell you, I want to be on his team, and I'm happy to be on his team.
You are on his
because
team.
he's always been there for us, and man, I'm telling you, talking about somebody that's just a good communicator and just great leader. And,
He is.
Jimmy's the same way. I mean,
So, I normally give the guests just a couple minutes to wrap up, say what you want to talk about to the community, to anyone out there that, you know, may benefit from what you have to say. But before I do that, I want to reiterate, and maybe this time I can put words together as I do so. If you want to become a peer recovery support specialist, we have 28 counties in the state that do not have a peer recovery support specialist that need one desperately. We have more positions open than we do people to fill the positions. In the chat box, there's a link for NADAC.org. That is the application link. You need 2 years in recovery, sustained recovery, and no violent crime charges and no sex charges. Secondly, we have our peer conference coming up in September through Mid-South. We definitely want everybody there for that. It's going to be amazing. And lastly, if you want to get a scholarship with a hotel room for that peer conference, definitely get somebody to fill out an application to become a peer recovery support specialist in one of those 28 counties, and when they get signed up for core training, you get a scholarship. Anyway, all right, so I just want you guys to take the last few minutes for you guys to share to the community, to anyone out there who may be hurting, who needs something, who needs someone to talk to, and just, you know, give them some experience, strength, and hope.
so yeah, you know, you say community. Well, you know, that plays a massive role in recovery. Also, you know, mentorship. Something that helped me out was I had to find a mentor. You know, I didn't know everything, and now I'm at a place where I can actually mentor. But guess what? Leaders need leaders. So I still have men over me. I still have men that I need to help me make decisions. You know, because I come up with some harebrained ideas sometimes. But it's so crucial to have the right circle of friends. If you show me your friends now, I'll show you exactly what your future is going to look like. Because whatever they're doing, guess what? That's what you're going to do. So you need to find somebody that, you know, people that you can trust, people that love you unconditionally, people that are going to call you out on your BS, okay? That's the kind of people you need in your life that's going to love you enough to tell you the truth and do it in a loving way and not let you just run around and act, you know, and do what you want to do. You know, it's in the New Testament. So in the New Testament, it says that bad company corrupts good character, and that is so true. But if you look back in the Old Testament, I think it's Solomon. He puts it in a better perspective, especially for somebody like me or you that are in recovery. It says that it is better. I got it written down. It's Proverbs 17:12. It says it's better to meet a mama bear robbed of her cubs than a fool in his folly. Wow. And if you've never seen the clip from The Revenant where Leonardo DiCaprio gets attacked by that grizzly bear, go watch it and your eyes will be opened, because that's exactly what it's like. If you don't go find the right people, it's over. Like it is over. It's that serious. But as far, I know most people that are watching, they're actually either in recovery or they're peer specialists, but there's probably a few out there that are struggling. Man, if I can do it, she can do it. Absolutely, you can do it. I heard Jimmy say one time, he said, people in recovery have a deeper appreciation for life. Man, like that is so true. It's almost like, it's like the prostitute that was washing Jesus' feet, you know. What a lot of people don't know but that perfume that she was putting on his feet was literally the most expensive thing she had. That was her livelihood. Like that's all she had that was worth anything was that perfume, and she dumped every bit of it on his feet, right? And she wiped it away. And you think about the woman at the well. Who's gonna love more? Who's gonna love other people more? Well, it's the ones that's been through the most. You know what I mean? That's why we're so on fire. That's why we want to help other people so much. If you are a peer support specialist, we've only been doing this for 8 months, but I will tell you this: it takes alligator hide, because it is one of the most heartbreaking jobs or ministries that you'll ever be a part of. But it's also one of the most just rewarding, because I mean, all it takes is just that one that gets it right. So if you've been through what I've been through, man, you're called. Like you're literally the chosen ones, right? I mean, seriously, like it's our reasonable duty, or it's almost like I feel obligated to help other people. I do, and there's nothing else in the world that I would rather do. There's nothing. So I do strongly encourage you to email Kyle or whoever and get this started, get it going. We need this. Like this is a game changer, big time. Because one thing is, drugs aren't going anywhere. They keep coming out with new stuff. We can't keep blaming everybody else. We can't blame the big pharma. We can't blame the drug cartel. We can't blame your doctor, right? So the only solution is to take away the consumer. So that's where we're at. We're trying to remove the consumer. I do that by introducing them to Jesus.
You're amazing. This is a great power couple. They're an amazing team. I'm so excited that you were on today. Once again, everybody, please check those links out that we have in the comments section. If you need to get something to me, you can message the Recovery Clinic today. I'm available anytime. I'm so grateful that you guys were here. Next week, I have Nikki, who does Real Talk Recovery on YouTube. She's going to be here. This is going to be a really interesting show. I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Bye.